Good evening. I'm Leland Hayward. The Ford Motor Company has asked me to produce a show about you, the American people, about what has happened to all of us in the last 50 years. As a nation, we've come a long way since the turn of the century. Obviously, we can't bring you 50 years in 120 minutes, but we can show you some of the things that have happened to us to help us discover what has shaped our minds, touched our hearts, and lifted our spirits. To speak for the American mind, Edward R. Murrow.
Good evening.
To speak for the imagination, Kukla and Ollie.
How do you do?
Hello. To speak for the American heart, Mary Martin.
Hello there.
To speak for the spirit, Oscar Hammerstein.
At the turn of the century, when life in our country was more peaceful, within the family, was the relationship between husband and wife different? Yes. And again, no. Let us show you a scene from a play by Howard Lindsay and Russell Crouse, Life with Father, based on Clarence Bay's stories about his own father. Howard Lindsay and Dorothy Stickney play their original roles. Fathers going over the monthly accounts.
Vinny! Vinny!
What's the matter, Claire? What's wrong?
Sit down, Vinny.
But, Claire, dear, I really think
Sit
I'd better...
down. Now, Vinny, you know I like to live well, and I want my family to live well. But this house must be run on a sound business basis. I must know how much money I'm spending and what for. For example, last week, I gave you $6 to buy a new coffee pot.
Yes, because you broke the old one. You threw it right on the floor.
I'm not talking about that. I'm merely
But
endeavoring...
it was so silly of you to break that nice coffee pot, Claire. And there was nothing the matter with the coffee that morning. It was made just the same as always.
It was not. It was made in a barbaric manner.
And besides, I couldn't get another one of those imported ones. That little shop has stopped selling them. They said the tariff wouldn't let them. And that's your fault, Claire, because you're always voting to raise the tariff.
The tariff protects America against cheap foreign labor. And now, I find...
The tariff does nothing but raise the prices, and that is hard on everyone, especially the farmer.
I wish to heaven you wouldn't talk about things you don't know a thing about.
I do, too, know about them. Miss Gulick says that every intelligent woman should have some opinion of her own.
Who, may I ask, is Miss Gulick?
Why, Claire, dear, you know. She's that current events woman I told you about, and the tickets are $1 every Tuesday.
Do you mean to tell me that a pack of idle-minded females pay $1 apiece to hear another female gabble about the events of the day? Listen to me if you want to know anything about the events of the day.
But you get so excited, Claire, dear. And besides, Miss Gulick says that our president, whom you're always belittling, prays to God for guidance.
Vinny,
And that every
what
night-
happened to that $6?
What's $6?
I gave you $6 to buy a new coffee pot. And now I find you apparently got one at Lewis and Conger's and charged it. Here's their bill. One coffee pot, $5.
So you owe me $1, and you can hand it right over.
I'll do nothing of the kind. What did you do with that $6?
Why, Claire, I can't tell you now, dear. Why didn't you ask me at the time?
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, wait a minute. I spent $4.50 for that new umbrella that I told you I wanted, and you said I didn't need it, but I did. Very much.
Well, now we're getting someplace. One umbrella, $4.50.
And that must have been the time I paid Mrs. Tobin for 2 extra days washing.
Mrs. Tobin,
Yes, that's $2 more.
$2.
That's $6.50. And that's another 50 cents you owe me.
I don't owe you anything. What you owe me is an explanation of where my money's gone. Now we're going over this account book item by item.
I don't know what you expect of me. I tire myself out chasing up and down those stairs all day long, trying to look after your comfort, to bring up your children. I do the mending and the marketing, and as if that isn't enough, you expect me to be an expert bookkeeper, too.
Now, Vinny, I have no wish to be unreasonable.
I don't know what you want to be.
But can't you understand? I'm doing all this for your own good.
Oh.
Well, I suppose I'll just have to go on paying the bills and hoping I've enough money in the bank to meet them, but it's all very discouraging.
I'll try to do better, Claire.
Well, now, that's all I'm asking. Now, I'll go downstairs and make out the checks and sign them.
Not until you give me that $1.50.
What? $1.50?
The $1.50 you owe me.
I don't owe you any $1.50. I gave you some money to buy a coffee pot for me, and somehow it turned into an umbrella for you.
Clarence Day, what kind of a man are you? Quibbling about $1.50. And what's more...
All right, all right, all right.
Thank you, Claire. Well, now the accounts are all straight again.
We turned the corner into the new century rather easily. We had started to build a great navy, and Teddy Roosevelt was using it as a big stick. We were venturing out into the big world, whether we liked it or not. The Wright brothers got their little biplane in the air, and in that very instant, the world began to shrink. We were building the Panama Canal, joining the oceans. And meanwhile, to strengthen himself to meet the problems of his time, the great American male, embodied by Wally Cox, went on trying to improve his physique.
You won't believe this, but 30 days ago, I was a skinny, miserable weakling. Isn't that amazing? I hate to seem immodest, but look at me now. I'm sort of big, aren't I? Boy. Anybody care to tussle? You'd think twice, wouldn't you? Oh, I have more zip than ever before now. More pep, too. Why, before I bought this book, I had practically no physique at all. Look at me now. I'm sort of big, aren't I? Boy. Anyone care to tussle? Oh, you'd think twice, wouldn't you? Yes. I don't think anybody's going to push me around anymore. Well, I'm not halfway through the book yet.
Ollie, come on up and look at some stereopticon slides.
Some who?
Stereopticon slides.
Oh, Niagara Falls. Ooh, that's wonderful. Anna Held. Oh, boy. Oh, the ocean. I love the ocean. By the sea, by the sea, by the beautiful sea, you and I, you...
Wait a minute. Hold on, Ollie. Just a minute. Tell me, have bathing suits changed since the turn of the century?
Well, Kukla, I wouldn't know myself, but Mother tells me that 1903 was known as the age of modesty. Ah, look at that manly physique.
Must protect that schoolgirl complexion.
A swim? Roomy, aren't they? One, two, three. I've going to splash you. Yes, I am. In 1914, silent movies showed us what the girls wore. Hello, cutie! Yeah. What? Oh, no, we won't tell. Huh? No, we won't. You got a surprise for you, boy. What? Up! Come!
Try and find me, try and find me.
Where is she? You? Oh. Helen, where is that? Oh, there she is. I love that Helen. If I can just find her. Where'd she go? Oh! My hero. Oh. Hold it. Is there a doctor in the house? Oh! I love that Helen! Southampton in the 1920s. Oop. You were always bumping into someone you knew. Terribly sociable, you know. Note the natty line. You don't say. Well, I never. Mercy. The wetter, the nattier.
You at the country club tonight?
Oh, yes, we must have our mahjong. Toodaloo. In 1930, bathing suits were going through a transition period, so we don't really have to dwell on them at all. Thank you. Sorry.
Hey, Ollie, what's that?
Oh, Kukla, you know, in 1940, we had to make a few simple preparations before we went swimming.
Oh, I remember that, sure. Wow, there's the backrest, yeah. Oh, now we're ready to swim, huh?
Not yet, Kook, not yet.
Here's the radio, good. Fine. Oh, and the camera got to take pictures, you bet.
Oh, there's my snorkel.
Now do we go swimming? Not yet. Not yet, I can see it. Gotta eat first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where is everybody? Oh, there you are. Oh, at last. We're ready to go in for a swim.
Oh, no, Kukla. We're just too tired. In 1950, men's bathing suits were down to a minimum.
What about the girls?
Oh, wait till you see those girls go.
Oh, Ollie, how did you get in here?
Uh-oh, wrong year. I knew it.
No, you're in the wrong. It's Bella, you're in the wrong. What's that, Helen? Oh, there she is.
Wow, wait. Fellas, no fanatic. Oh, no. Yes, you're in the wrong. You're all mixed up. What are we going to do? Oh, Kukla.
By the beautiful sea, you and I, oh, how happy we'll be.
There goes that Helen.
I love to be beside your side.
Come on, kids, last one in is a rotten
By the seaside, by the beautiful sea, by the sea, by the beautiful
Come on in. The water's fine.
A very fine playwright, Thornton Wilder, wrote a play about a small town of the early 1900s, Our Town. It's a rather unusual play, no scenery. Starts with a stage manager who kind of explains things to the audience. That'll be me. The scene we're going to show you starts on top of a hill in a cemetery. Some folks who've been up there for several years are thinking about a girl named Emily who's about to join them. Some of them remember Emily's wedding. A lovely wedding, they say it was. Then suddenly she appears among them. She comes slowly, gazing wonderingly at the dead, a little dazed.
I want to go back.
Yes?
Can I go back there and live again?
Some have tried, but they soon come back here. It won't be what you think it'll be. You not only live it, but you watch yourself living it. You know what's going to happen afterward.
Please. Can I?
Choose the least important day of your life. It'll still be important enough.
Then I choose my 12th birthday.
You want any special time of day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
We'll begin at dawn. The sun's coming up.
There's Main Street. And there's Mr. Morgan's drugstore before he changed it. And there's a livery stable. Oh, look. There's the old white fence that used to be around our house. Oh, I'd forgotten that. I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes, your mother will be coming downstairs in a minute to make breakfast.
Will she?
And you remember your father had been away for several days. He came back on the early morning train.
Emily, time to get off.
Mama, here I am. Oh, how young Mama looks. I didn't know Mama was ever that young. Good morning, Mama. Mama, I'm here. I can't find my blue hair ribbon anywhere.
Just open your eyes, dear, that's all. Left it out special for you on the dresser there.
Good morning, Mother.
Well, Charles, how did it go?
Oh, fine, I guess. I told him a few things. Everything all right here?
Yes, can't think of anything that's happened special. Oh, Charles, don't forget. It's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her something?
Yes, I have something here.
Goodness sakes, I hope she likes what I got for her. I hunted hard enough for it. Emily, hurry up. Your father's home.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
They're so young and beautiful. How did they ever have to grow old? I love them all. Everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Good morning, Mama.
Well, now, dear, a very happy birthday to my girl and many happy returns. There's some surprises waiting for you on the kitchen table.
Oh, Mama, you shouldn't.
But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. Want you to grow up to be a good, strong girl.
Mama, just look at me 1 minute as though you really saw me. Mama, 14 years have gone by. I'm dead. But just for a moment now, we're together. Mama, just for the moment, we're happy. Let's look at one another.
That's the yellow paper, something I found in the attic among your grandmother's things. Your father has a surprise for you, too. Don't know what it is myself. Shh. Here he comes.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
I can't. It all goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I didn't realize. So all that was going on, and we never noticed. Take me back up the hill to my grave. But first, one more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grosvenor Corners, Mama and Papa. Goodbye to clocks ticking and my butternut tree. And to food and coffee. And to do iron dresses and hot baths. And sleeping and waking up. Oh, Ernst, you're too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute?
No. The saints and poets, maybe. They do, some.
I'm ready to go back.
Now she knows. Now she knows what it is to be alive, to spend and waste time as though you had 1,000,000 years. The dead don't stay interested in us living people for very long. They're waiting for the eternal part of them to come out clear. I don't care what people say with their mouths. Everybody knows that something is eternal. And that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people that ever lived have been telling us that for 5,000 years. And yet you'd be surprised how people are always losing hold of it. There's something way down deep that's eternal about every human being.
And so the current of our life flowed on, changing in things that we didn't really notice at the time. But a big change came with the funny-looking old Model T.
There's nothing like a Model T. Get in one and you agree. There's not a car that can touch her for comfort and style. Go for a ride and you'll say it beats walking a mile. Clink, clank, if she won't crank, give her a spank. There's nothing like a Model T for the average family. It has a klaxon that makes such a beautiful sound. Give it a honk, hear the echo for miles all around. Sit still, here comes a hill. Oh, what a thrill! Hey, Kukla, here comes Harold Lloyd.
Open up, give her gas. Pull aside, let her pass. Gosh, all sakes alive.
That's the new 25
Miles an hour in your future wait and see. You will find a Model T.
And by the way, if you haven't acquired one yet,
Go out and put in your order. They're easy to get. They're swell, and they all sell practically free. There's nothing like a Model T. There's nothing like a Model T for the average family. And by the way, if you haven't acquired one yet, go out and put in your order. They're easy to get. They're swell, and they all sell practically free. There's nothing like a Model T. Let the trolley car clang.
clang, clang goes the trolley.
Let the steamer toot toot.
Toot, toot goes the bus.
Let 'em go, let 'em bang. What is more, let 'em hang. But for me, how
The old Model T has been accused of a lot of things, but it was the first car that was ever built for the average pocketbook. Henry Ford realized that if he produced cars for less money, he could sell them to more people. And if he paid his workers more, they could buy more cars. The question was how to do it. And the answer came in 2 words: assembly line. You brought the pieces to the man, and the man was paid $5 a day. Half that was good pay before. Skilled labor poured into Detroit. From a town, it became a great city. And out of the city came a new and cheap method of transportation. The nation became mobile. Those 2 words, assembly line, gave us 2 other words: mass production. Less expensive goods so that more could buy. Well, the music of the time didn't stem from the blacksmith shop or the assembly line, but it rolled across the country from New Orleans and Memphis. And mostly, we called it jazz. And it was in the Dixieland style. This time, a young immigrant by the name of Irving Berlin wrote a song that became an item for expert. Miss Ethel Merman.
Come on in here, come on in here, Alexander's ragtime band. Come on in here, come on in here, it's the best band in the land. They can play a blues call like you never heard before. So natural that you want to go to war. It's just the bestest band what I am. Oh, my honey lamb, come on along, let me take you by the hand. Up to the man, who's the leader of the band. And if you care to hear the Swanee River played in ragtime, come on in here, Alexander's ragtime band. Oh, my honey, better hurry and yes, meander. Ain't you going to the leader man, ragged meter man? Oh, my honey, let me take you to Alexander's grandstand brass band. Ain't you coming along? Come on in here, it's the best band in the land. Come on in here, Alexander's ragtime band. Come on in here, it's the best band in the land. They can play a bugle call like you never heard before. Yeah, that's just the bestest band what I am. Oh, my honey lamb, come on along, let me take you by the hand. Up to the man, who's the leader of the band. And if you care to hear the Swanee River played in ragtime, come on in here, Alexander's ragtime band.
In 1913, a couple of years after that song was written, I traveled through Europe with 2 other boys, all of us about 17. Our ignorance of international problems was stupendous. We talked about the German Army, the British Navy, as though they were a couple of rival football teams. We'd heard about the Kaiser and the Tsar, but the name of Lenin meant nothing to us. Trotsky and Stalin were unknown. I'm afraid we were too interested in ourselves to understand Sir Edward Grey when he said the lights are going out all over Europe, never to come on again in our lifetime. At home, when the lights went out, it was because we'd gone to bed early. or because we'd gone downtown to get the thrill of our lives at the movies. Imagine trying to frighten Theda Bara with a pistol. The little one is Charlie Chaplin. The big one is Marie Dressler. We used to think Klansmen were heroes. Maybe we are getting smarter. Rudolph Valentino. Imagine him today in 3D. It'll be almost too much for the girls to stand.
Be the nervous, fidgety type. I used to chew my fingernails and everything. But I sent away for this book. It tells you how to relax by a very simple method. You simply get each of your muscles to relax one at a time, and then there you are, all relaxed. The way you do that is you talk to your muscles. You say soothing things to them. For example, you might tell your calf muscles about some green meadow with a babbling brook on it and a cow in it. And you sort of follow yourself around and catch yourself in the act of being nervous. And then you tap yourself on the shoulder and you say to your back muscles, I know where there's a quiet mountain lake with water lilies on it. You see? You simply just follow yourself around. Tap, tap, tap. That's what I do. It has only one drawback. It makes me extremely nervous.
Back in those days, we all hoped, and most of us believed, that the rest of the world wouldn't bother us. We went into the First World War with joy and with singing. We entered the second one with more grimness and no singing at all. There were other differences, too. And this is for those of you who remember.
Mademoiselle from Armitage's parlez-vous. Mademoiselle from Armitage's parlez-vous. Mademoiselle from Armitage's.
At the club for 40 years.
Dinky, dinky, parlez-vous. The first Marine went over the top.
Parlez-vous.
The second Marine went over the top.
Parlez-vous.
The third Marine went over the top.
Because he had no place to stop.
Dinky, dinky, parlez-vous.
Oh, the Eiffel Tower's quite a view. Parlez-vous.
The Eiffel Tower's quite a view.
Parlez-vous.
The Eiffel Tower's quite a view.
But when she saw me, she said, woo-woo!
Dinky, dinky, parlez-vous.
The Colonel got the coin again. Parlez-vous. over there.
Dinky, dinky, parley-ho. Oh, the day we sailed away from Brest, parley-ho. The day we sailed away from Brest, parley-ho. The day we sailed away from Brest,
We said goodbye and thought the rest.
dinky, dinky, parley-ho.
Oh, Mademoiselle from Almaty, parley-vous. Mademoiselle from Almaty, parley-vous. She brushed a tooth and put on her hair cut, or we'll be off the air.
Dinky, dinky, parley-ho.
I'd like to touch on what the boys came home to. It was women, as usual. Let's examine a member of the female species.
The dilemma of American women. What to do with their shapes. Each year, fashion keeps pushing the figure around and changing the emphasis. Our women face constant style change. Is it in? Are they out? Is it up? Or is it down? Or do you have them at all? Contour delinquency, a major problem of the 20th century, often results in severe schizophrenic disorders. No American female wants to look like yesterday's bros, does she? No. She must keep up with the latest fashions. 1903.
Dame Modish decrees that milady should wear a corset that laces her into an hourglass silhouette. Skirts must sweep the floor and never, never reveal the limbs. Milady must achieve the Grecian bend. Arch the back, drop the shoulders, and bosom forward for balance. That's rather good. Now add a dashing hat to enhance Madame's crowning glory. And finally, a feather boa to caress your alabaster throat. Quite ravishing. Ah, fashion, that fickle jade, has at last found a way to glorify the natural female figure.
1914.
Madame, the undulating torso is fini. Tout à fait fini. The newest Paris corset is a straight tube from the bosom well down. No more full skirts. We now have an overdrape to emphasize the roundness of the hips. And voila, the hubble skirt. Oh, now lower the neckline, a daring 3 inches to admit the fresh air. Add Madame's elegant chapeau. Ravissant! And a parasol for final eclat. This season, the one-legged look is the dernier cri. Madame does not walk, she minces. What's the matter? Can't sit? Ah, then you're completely comme il faut. Comme il faut.
1925.
Hey, baby, get out of those rags. Women have the vote, can't you read? Take off that skirt if you want to be an it girl. The hem goes up, 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 up. The belt comes down, 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 down. Oh, identify your waistline. Now, lounge and cover, kiddo. Ah, we don't have chests for crying out loud. We bare our shoulders in a snazzy bateau neckline. We don a cloche to make deep, shadowy pools of our eyes. To relieve any starkness, a simple strand of pearls. Very snappy. At last, fashion has found its groove. These clothes are so youthful and becoming to every figure that women will never, never give them up. Free from corseted conventions, it's now chic to smoke, even in public.
$19.37.
Good heavens, what are you doing in that get-up? The boyish flapper's dead. And we're all going to be very pretty this season. Now, up with the waistline. What's the matter? Can't you find your waistline? Down with the hemline. Oh, where are your shoulder pads? This year, it's smart to be the broad-shouldered, healthy, independent, vital American girl. Like Joan Crawford. We slash our skirts to give a tantalizing glimpse of the knee. As a final nonchalant note, casually twist a turban around your curls for a much more exotic you. And here we are. Above all, we have lip allure. No, dear. Wide lips. No, dear. Our lips are delicious this year. Gowns do justice now to the freedom-loving, casual American woman, bringing out her natural abandon. Fashion has come to grips with reality.
1953.
Freedom is the note. The emancipated, clear-eyed American career girl has finally freed herself from the slavery of fashion. Nowadays, one basic dress, with proper accessories, of course, will take her calmly through the whirl of her busy day and on into the wonderful glamour of the night. A trim, functional little dress, demurely fastened at the throat. She seizes her cape and it's off to the office for her day's work. And it's lunchtime. The clean lines of our basic little dress will softened by a cape worn over the shoulders in a leisurely manner. And it's cocktail time. After the day's accomplishment, the neckline punches low, and a big blue pad gives our dynamic career girl an elusive quality. And it's theater time. But no need to change the costume. The alabaster shoulders emerge in all their fragile, trusting, clinging charm. The hat, a mere pom-pom. And after her carefree day, our career girl returns home fresh and eager for adventure as when she started forth. Isn't she?
The American woman faces tomorrow unafraid, welcoming the next day's challenges, well knowing that she has defeated contour delinquency. Dauntless, she faces the future shoulder to shoulder with men in their basic Brooks Brothers suits, knowing that she too is simple, basic, and in wonderful shape. Shape marches on.
Commentator at large. Good evening. In keeping with the rather serious and documentary part of this program, I have prepared 2 newsreels, compiled, of course, by Oliver J. Dragon, and being a record of some of the important events of the first half of the century. Pay attention. With no more ado, I now present the Oliver J. Dragon newsreel number 1. There's Carrie Nation, or a reasonable facsimile. What's that? It's not root beer, kid. Neither is that. Oh, that's kind of a bad time right there.
What is that, Ollie, a wreck?
Well, there were strikes there, and there's lots of upsetting. What's that, an auction? Yes, Kukla, you know, about that time work was so hard to find they held an auction for jobs on the Boston Common.
Didn't know that. What's that?
Oh, Kukla, well, it's not Halloween, let me tell you. Oh, there, look, there's the suffragettes. The ladies marching to get the vote, and Mother's in here somewhere. There she is in the car. No, that's not Mother. Now, wait. There's Mother with the flag. Hello, Mama. No, that's not Mama at all. There's Mama going in to vote. There she is. I knew you'd see her. Getting the first vote there. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, that's great. Oh, look at that Babe Ruth. There he goes. Another homer. I knew it. Yes, and Helen Wills. And Bobby Jones. Gertrude Ederle. And Pearl White, you remember her?
Not me. My mama told me about it, though.
And Peggy Hopkins Joyce, yes, indeed. And here's Hootmont, Harry Lauder. Yes, sir. Oh, my. That was many years ago. Lindy. Well, this is the end of Oliver J. Dragon Newsreel number 1.
I used to be a wallflower at parties like this until I sent away for ukulele lessons. Now I'm the hit of the party. Everybody will want to know who I am. They'll all wonder, who's that over in the corner playing the ukulele like that? Well, it's me. Watch now. I could play Down by the Old Mill Stream and make all the girls cry. But I think I'll be fair and just play something that will attract everybody. Watch them all swarm around now. Oh, home, home on the range, where the deers and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
What are you playing, Home on the Range?
Yes, that's right.
I thought so.
Well, I'm not halfway through the book yet.
Undoubtedly, one of the greatest influences on what we said and did, and even how we thought, was the motion picture. The Covered Wagon, the saga of American pioneer life, was the face of thousands of cowboy and Indian thrillers. John Gilbert and Rene Adoré starred in this celluloid version of World War I. When John Gilbert kissed Greta Garbo, the technique of romance became an acceptable topic of conversation for mixed company, to say nothing of a feat to be imitated in a rumble seat. On the evening of October 6, 1927, the revolution occurred. Al Jolson and the jazz singer. His lips not only moved, but you could hear him. And overnight, the movies became the talkies.
Oh, God, I hope I'm not late. Nellie, don't you know me? It's a little crazy. I'd walk a million miles for one of your smiles. But I'm not.
The arrival of sound put an end to vaudeville and to such acts as the one we will now recreate for you through an old Victrola record.
Hello, Ernest. How are you?
Oh, fine, Bill. How are you?
Well, I'm glad to see you.
Just got back today, Bill.
So did I just get back today, Ernest.
Yeah?
You're quite a wanderer, aren't you?
Yes, Bill. I've wandered all over the world.
Yes, well, you can wander all over the world, Ernest. But you have to go to Italy to Rome.
All right, Dave, let's sing another song.
That's a good idea.
I'm a Dixie rolling stone, roaming round all alone.
You've learned a lot, but what have you got?
Nothing worth calling my own. I hear that you returned from home today.
I often wonder why you went away.
Say, Bill, how's your folks and my folks down in Norfolk town?
Not one word have they heard since you've been knocking around.
How's dear old Dad and Mother and all the family? How's little sis and brother? Do they ever talk about me?
Your old gal, your old pal, the one you left behind.
Yes.
Now I found you're always on her mind.
I'm just an old black sheep and I'll get no sleep till I'm Virginia bound. To your folks and my folks down in Norfolk town. Say, Bill, you know it's been a long time since I was home.
Yes, it has.
How time does fly.
Yes, it does.
What makes time fly?
Well, I don't know unless it can be the spur of the moment.
You will have your little joke, won't you,
Oh,
Bill?
yes, I will. You know, when I was taking the train back home from Norfolk last night, I asked the trainman where the train went that I saw. And he said, that train goes to New York in 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Pretty fast train, so I took it.
You know, talking about trains, Bill, I know when the L&N is leaving in the evening, but it's bound for Louisville. And I know the B&O is bound to go to Baltimore and down to Jacksonville. And they say that every day the Santa Fe is on its way out to the Golden Gate. But for free, don't worry me, the only place I want to be, I might as well confess. I'm just an old black sheep and I'll get no sleep till I'm Virginia bound. To your folks and my folks down in Norfolk town, down in Norfolk town, down in Norfolk town, down in Norfolk town.
Down in Norfolk town.
We will continue in a few moments with the Ford 50th anniversary show after this pause for station identification.
Announce me. Go ahead, announce me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Oliver J. Dragon, commentator at large.
Oh, pardon me.
There's your collar.
I've been wearing it for a belt for the past few minutes. Shh, this is dignified. As I said before, in keeping with the rather serious and documentary part of this program, are you paying attention?
Oh, yes.
Come over here and listen closely. With the documentary part of this program, I am showing you 2 newsreels compiled by Oliver J. Dragon, edited by Oliver J. Dragon, filmed by Oliver J. Dragon, and being a record of some of the important events of the first half of the century. And I just want to tell you one more thing. These are great achievements that I'm going to show you now, some real great ones. So, with no more ado, I now would like to present the Oliver J. Dragon newsreel number 2. In the early part of the century, man took to the... Well, that was the wrong one. In the early part of the... No, that's the wrong one. In the early part of the century, man took... That one's never going to get off the ground. Well, that's not going to work either, buddy, nor that one. Oh, this is the one. In the early part of the century, Hello. Well, in the early part of the century, Wow, he really got there, didn't he? Oh, yeah, how do you do, Mr. Hoover? Goodbye, Mr. Coolidge. Who's that? That's Mr. Houdini. He's all wrapped up in himself.
Oh. Wow.
Who's that? That's Fatima. How'd she get in here?
Don't ask me. Absolutely, Mr. Gallard.
Positively, Mr. Sheen. Oh, there's Dad. That's the home movie. He was locked out one night. No, that's Father, I think. I get this one mixed up. I can't get it. There. Oh, dear. Now, who is that? Some pirates, I guess. Here's Father marching in the parade. There. He is third. That's not Dad. Hello, girls.
What's that, Ollie?
Oh, that's an early Tarzan picture.
What's that?
Oh, that's a phenomenon called a dance marathons. I don't think there are any anymore.
Wow, they're sleepy, aren't they?
Come on, keep smiling, girl. beauty contest, Kukla. Use your eyes.
Is this a marathon?
No, nightclub, and there's Texas Guinan.
Iris is really the sugar coating on the cake of trouble, and many a sucker has cut himself too big a piece of cake. You understand?
Well, it was a real jazzy period, the 20s, Kukla.
Especially in those nightclubs. What did you call them?
I think they call them speakeasies, Kukla. Let's take a look back. Here we are on a street in front of one of the famous speakeasies of the 20s. It was jazzy everywhere.
Achoo! Achoo! Okay.
The golden 20s were fabulous indeed, but the big binge had to come to an end sometime.
United Chemical and Alloy down 14 points. American Cab and Tail down 23 points. Alaska Copper down 45 points. Florida Kumquat down 63 points. Dayport down 63 points. Upper Steel Rail down 86 points. Peruvian Sardine down 92 points.
In 1930, there were 3 million unemployed. By 1933, there were 15 million. 1 out of every 4 farmers saw his land sold for taxes. 5,000 banks failed. Over 65 million of you Americans weren't even born then. That was the campaign song of our new president, Franklin D. Roosevelt. At his inauguration, he said,
"So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself."
The new president came to be known merely by his initials, and he was much loved and he was much hated. Men who were willing could not work. The land seemed to have lost its promise. About this time, millions of us got our news each night from a man who still wears his microphone with ease, Mr. Lowell Thomas.
And now, after all that news about the New Deal, let's go on to a story of heroism and romance. But alas, phony heroism and blighted romance. A dispatch from Paris today tells about Georges Nicolas, who in the War of the Trenches distinguished himself for heroism. In a night attack by the Germans, Georges was so brave that Marshal Foch himself decorated him with the Croix de Guerre and made him a sergeant. His hometown gave a great banquet in his honor. After the war, Georges settled down and married Mademoiselle Marie Roselle. They lived happily, Georges and Marie, until Georges started playing around with another woman. Marie sued him for divorce. Then it was that the strange story came out. That night, when he was supposed to have been so brave, Georges was not there. He was scared to death and told his sweetheart, Marie Roselle, that he intended to desert. And she, a regular Joan of Arc, hid him and put on his uniform and went on outpost duty for him that night. It was she who, in the confusion of fighting, performed the deeds of heroism. When all this came out at the divorce trial, the French authorities started investigating and found that Marie was telling the truth. So it was Mademoiselle from Armentières, Mademoiselle Marie Roselle, who was the real heroine. But it was Georges who got the Croix de Guerre. The son of a gun was never there. And so long until tomorrow. Well, that's how I would end my broadcast in those days, and ever since, with something sprightly if possible. After which, the radio audience would get another program. Nothing so solemn either. And in those days, people everywhere were saying that when I died, on my tombstone, they were going to put the following epitaph: here lies the bird who was heard by millions of people who were waiting to hear Amos and Andy.
Today, the famous Madam Queen breach of promise trial looks like it's coming to an end. As the scene opens now, we find Amos, Andy, the Kingfish, and Brother Crawford talking in the courtroom just before Andy is called to the stand for cross-examination by Madam Queen's attorney. You there?
Andy, now, don't get nervous when you get on the stand. That's the main thing.
Nervous? Amos, I am so scared I don't know what to do. What can I say, Kingfish?
Well, the main thing, Brother Andy, when the man asks you questions, just say you don't remember.
Will Andrew H. Brown please take the witness stand for cross-examination? Coming up there, Your Honor, coming up there. Since this case started, I got palsy of the legs.
Brown, as attorney for Madam Queen, I have some letters in my hand written by you to this fair young creature. In this one letter, you asked her to marry you 16 different times. Tell me if you wrote this letter.
Well, seems like I is and seems like I ain't, but seems more like I ain't than to do like I is.
Andrew Brown, you are evading the question. I want to know.
What done happened? What done happened?
Andy, that was Madam Queen that screamed. Awa, awa, awa.
Not only did radio give entertainment and world events an audience of millions, it also helped evolve another phenomenon, the crooner craze. It started in the 20s with a singer whose name has become a part of the American legend.
My time is your time. Your time is my time. There's no time like our time, and no one like you. Oh, Phil, the Steins, the dear old Maine, shout till the rafters ring. Stand and drink a toast to once again that every loyal Maine man sings. And drink to all the happy hours, drink to the careless days, drink to Maine, our alma mater, the college of our hearts always. To the trees, to the skies, to the spring and its glorious happiness, to the fire, to the life that's moving, calling us, to the gods, to the fates, to the rulers of men and their destinies, to the lips, to the eyes, to the girls who will love us someday. Oh, Phil, the Steins, the dear old Maine, shout till the rafters ring. Stand and drink a toast to once again that every loyal Maine man sings. Then drink to all the happy hours, drink to the careless days, drink to Maine, our alma mater, the college of our hearts always.
And who came along in the 30s? Why, Bing Crosby.
In the 30s? I could have sworn I came out in the mid-40s. Well, no matter. I guess I shouldn't complain because, after all, I'm appearing on this show tonight on film. And Rudy Vallee, who preceded me, was on live, or as close as he could come to it.
Not only live, Bing, but I still have my hair.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas
just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with every Christmas card I write. May your day be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
Up to the 40s now, the craze continuing with Frank Sinatra.
Go to my head with a smile that makes my temperature rise, like a summer with 1,000 Julys. You intoxicate my soul with your eyes, though I'm certain that this heart of mine hasn't a ghost of a chance in this crazy romance. You go to my head, 'cause you are the lover I've been waiting for, the maid that fate had me created for. And every time your lips meet mine, darling, down and down I go, all around I go in a spin, crazy about the spin that I'm in, under that old black magic called love.
Today's favorite, an ex-GI, Eddie Fisher.
I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. Still be heard. I believe that someone in the great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf,
I'm learning to dance in 6 easy lessons. I'll be popular at parties. That's well worth the price, don't you think? People used to think I didn't like to dance or I didn't dance because I didn't want to. Well, that's not true. I did want to. I just didn't know which foot came after which. So I sent away for this book. It teaches you to dance in 6 lessons. 1 lesson after dinner each night for a week. And you get Sunday off. It's so simple, too. All you have to do is follow the footprints and the arrows. If you can count up to 3, you can waltz. I did that last night. Tonight's lesson is a little bit harder. You have to count up to 9. Well, there are still some flaws in my technique.
In the 30s, popular dancing reached a new high. But each period had its dance craze, even way back in 1903.
Adelaide, you do dance divinely.
Oh, John.
Adelaide, you do dance divinely.
In the 30s, we also began to show a marked preference for serious music. And it was then that America was given a great voice. Toscanini said, "A voice like this is heard only once in 100 years." Miss Marian Anderson.
Got to hold
In his hands he's got the big round world. In his hands he's got the wide world. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the wind and rain. In his hands he's got the moon and the stars. In his hands he's got the wind and rain. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the lying man right. In his hands he's got the gambling man right. In his hands he's got the crap shooting man. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got little bits of baby. In his hands he's got little bits of baby. In his hands he's got little bits of baby. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, brother. In his hands he's got you and me, sister. In his hands he's got you and me, brother. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. Oh, he's got everybody. In his hands he's got everybody. In his hands he's got everybody here right in his hands. He's got the whole world in his
We began to hear names. Hitler, Mussolini, Manchuria, Ethiopia, Spain. But most of us didn't understand. When war came in 1939, we thought ourselves safe behind our oceans. Then there came more names. Poland, France, Belgium, until only Britain stood alone. And most of us remember the words of that rather considerable man who was half American.
The Battle of France is over. The Battle of Britain is about to begin. Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duty. And so bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its commonwealths last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
And finally, all our enemies were defeated, and no man can count the cost or the loss. We also lost our leader. Arthur Godfrey, an old Washington hand, described it.
Drums are wrapped in black crape and are muffled, as you can hear. And the pace of the musicians is so slow. And behind them, these are Navy boys. And now just coming past the treasury, I can see the horses drawing the caisson. And most generally, folks having as tough a time as I am trying to see it. And behind us is the car bearing the man on whose shoulders now falls the terrific burdens and responsibilities that were handled so well by the man to whose body we're paying our last respects now. God bless him, President Truman. We return you now to the studio.
And 3 other men died shortly who were not remembered the same way. Adolf Hitler, Führer, he said,
"The German National Socialist Party will last for 1,000 years."
Died by his own hand, May 1, 1945. Benito Mussolini, Duce, he said,
"The Mediterranean is an Italian lake."
Died by hanging at the hands of his own people, April 28, 1945. Hideki Tojo, Premier and Minister of War, and he said,
I intend to dictate the peace in Washington.
Died by hanging after sentence was passed by his conquerors in Tokyo, December 23, 1948. And then we brought the boys home. And who was responsible for that? Not the President or the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but the American people, all of us. Overseas, we left tanks to rust and aircraft to rot. We had won a war, and we were accustomed to win, and then relax. And then the Russians broke one agreement after another. Gradually and painfully, we realized that one tyranny may replace another. I think it was the murder of Czechoslovakia that did it. First, we gave aid to Greece and to Turkey. Then it was the Marshall Plan for Western Europe, the North Atlantic Pact. We acquired our first peacetime allies, and we poured out massive aid to friend and former foe alike. And gradually, we came to realize that security and freedom are never paid for in a lump sum. New installments are always coming due. And when the communists crossed the 38th parallel in Korea, we led the free world in an unprecedented resistance to overt aggression. It has cost us more than 25,000 dead. We have not won this war, but it has been demonstrated that aggression does not pay, even in a small, far-off land of which we know little. But in good times and bad, in war and in peace, this is a singing country. And those of us who can't sing like to be sung to.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing, everything that traffic will allow. Nowhere could you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Yesterday they told you you would not go far. That night you open and there you are. Next day on your dressing room they've hung a star. Let's go on with the show. The costumes, the scenery, the makeup, the props, the audience that lifts you when you're down. The headaches, the heartaches, the backaches, the flops, the sheriff who escorts you out of town. The opening when your heart beats like a drum. The closing when the customers don't come. There's no business like show business, like no business I know. You get word before the show has started that your favorite uncle died at dawn. And top of that, your pa and ma have parted. You're broken-hearted, but you go on. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Even with a turkey that you know will fold, you may be stranded out in the cold. Still, you wouldn't change it for a sack of gold. Let's go on with the show.
I'm as horny as Hammerstein II. I'm as normal as blueberry pie. No more a smart little girl with no heart. I have found me a wonderful guy. I am in the conventional theater with the conventional star in my eye. And you will notice there's a lump in my throat when I speak of that wonderful guy. I'm as trite, as gay as a daisy in May, a cliche coming through. I'm romantic and bright as a moon, happy night, pouring light on the dew. I'm as corny as Kansas in August, high as a flag on the 4th of July. If you'll excuse an expression I use, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with a wonderful guy.
think that'd be fun. Good. By the light of the silvery moon, I want a spoon. To my honey I'll croon love too.
Wait till the sun shines merrily, when the clouds go drifting by, we will be so happy, Nellie. Don't let me hear you make a sigh. Don't let me hear you make a sigh.
I'm the Sheik of Araby. Your love belongs to me. At night when you're asleep, into your tent I'll creep.
When the red robin comes bopping along, there be no more stopping when he stops robbing his own sweet song. Wake up, you sleepyhead, get up, get out of bed, cheer up, the sun is red. Live, a laugh and be happy. What if I'm blue now? I'm walking through fields of flowers. Rain may glisten, but still I listen for hours and hours. I'm just a kid again, doing what I did again, singing a song. When the red robin comes bobbing along. Melancholy baby, cuddle up and don't be blue. My honey dear, while I kiss away each tear, or else I'll be melancholy too. You made me love you. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I want some love that's true. Yes, I do. Indeed, I do. You know I do. Give me what I cry for. You know you've got the kind of kisses that I die for. You know you made me love you. Sun goes down, light goes out. Dark and the brown, they'll all get shot. Hey, up and down in the street, beach feet on the Mississippi mud. Beach feet on the Mississippi mud. What a dance do they do? Lordy, hon, I'm telling you, they don't need no back. They time by clapping their hands, just happy as a cow chewing on a cud. When the dog is 6 feet on the Mississippi mud, the dog is 6 feet on the Mississippi mud.
Mary, let's sing some I songs.
Like,
I cried for you,
and I'm forever blowing bubbles,
and I'm always chasing rainbows,
and I'm in the mood for love,
and I'm afraid
I'd climb the highest mountain if I knew that when I climb that mountain,
I'm sitting on top of the world.
I got a feeling you're fooling,
And I can't give you anything but love, baby.
and I'll get by as long as
I hear singing and there's no one there.
I'm gonna watch that man right out of my hair. I'm gonna watch that man right out of my hair and send him on his way.
I get no kick from champagne. Mere alcohol doesn't thrill me at all. So tell me, why should it be true that I get a kick out of?
I've got you
Some like that perfume from Spain.
I've got
I'm sure that if I took even one sniff, that would bore me terrifically. I get a kick out of you. While carrying on a game of golf, I may make a play for the caddy. But when I do, I don't follow through, 'cause my heart belongs to Daddy. If I invite a boy some night to dine on my fine Finland paddy, I just adore his asking for more, but my heart belongs to Daddy. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy, so I simply couldn't be bad. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy, dad, 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 yeah. So I want to warn you, Daddy, so I think you're perfectly swell, that my heart belongs to Daddy, and my Daddy, he treats it so well. I got rhythm, I got music, I got my man who can ask for anything more. I got daisies in green pastures, I got my man who can ask for anything more. And old man Trouble, say I don't mind him, 'cause you'll find him hanging around my front and back door. Who could ask for anything more? Who could ask for anything When I'm calling, picture you upon my knee, T for two and two for tea. Will you answer me for you and you for me alone? Nobody near us to see us, to hear us, to friends or relations, or weekend vacations. We won't have it known, dear, that we own a telephone, dear. Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather. And this, that man and I ain't and me together. For you and you and all the time. Nobody near us, see us, to hear us, to friends or relations, a weekend vacation. We won't have it known, dear, that we own the telephone, dear. Isn't it romance? I got rhythm, dear. I got young and such a night and fit for anything. Isn't it romance? Such a night as this. We will raise a family, a boy for you and a girl for me. All can see how happy we will be. No business I know. You get word before the show has started that your favorite uncle died at dawn. And top of that, your pa have parted, you broken heart, but you go on. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Even when a turkey that you know will go, you may be stranded out in the cold. Still you wouldn't change it for a sack of gold. Let's go on with the show. Let's go on with the
Bravo, bravo. Oh, bravo, bravo.
Did you like that, Ollie?
Oh, just great. Oh, what an impossible place on the show this is.
How can you ever follow two dolls like that?
Oh, Coop.
Well, we're not really doing anything special now.
I just thought maybe we ought to kind of get ready and head back toward our home, which is in Chicago.
Yeah, but before we go, Kukla, you know, I enjoyed that song so much, that last one they did. I enjoyed them all, of course, but when they said there's no business like show business, a little thrill just went up and down my spine. You know,
You've got a tear in your eye.
I do?
Well, now, wait a minute.
Shouldn't use the curtain.
Why not?
It belongs to NBC.
You know, I didn't tell you this, but this is the first time we've been on two networks at once.
Heavens to Betsy. I didn't realize it.
What were you going to say a few minutes ago?
Well, you know, when Leland introduced us and said about imagination and everything, I thought that was a very nice thing to say.
I think so, too, Ollie. Your imagination's a very wonderful thing to have. It's a very beautiful thing to have. And it's a wonderful, I think it's a very wonderful part of America, don't you?
Oh, yes, indeed, Kukla. I think perhaps, maybe it's because I'm an all-American dragon, you know, all dragon and a yard wide. I do feel that sense of humor and American imagination is, well, I don't know, I somehow feel it'll kind of get it through everything. And gosh, of course, I imagine so many things all the time. And one more thing, if I may, Kukla.
Certainly you may, if you like.
I just wanted to say about, you say there's no business like show business, and I just suddenly thought, I got this great flash. It kind of went boing and hit me like that. I thought to myself, there's no business like television either, because we haven't even touched that in the 50 years.
Well, it's so young, you know.
Yes, whenever will it grow up?
Well, maybe tonight, you know. Maybe tonight. But I was just thinking, as you said that, where in the world could you get two wonderful girl singers like Mary Martin and
Ethel Merman together? Oh,
I think we better close up the curtains and sweep off the stage and get out of the way for a little while, leave the imagination for a few minutes, and turn it back to Mr. Murrow and Mr. Hammerstein.
Oscar, you know all about such things. Shall we have music like we've heard tonight in the next 50 years?
Well, I don't know, Ed. I think that the question is, shall we have any singers left in the next 50 years? Anybody to sing songs?
Well, sitting there listening to this music tonight, was thinking that perhaps there might not be anybody to listen.
That could be, too, because of that thing back there, that big mushroom-shaped thing. Is there any defense against that? Do you know of any? Have you heard of anybody?
Well, the experts all agree that we both have it. They can deliver the bomb, so can we. It would seem that humans, having devised a method of destroying humanity, must now either use it or fail to use it.
You mean the people who've invented war had better invent peace?
It would seem so.
And if people are going to do it, then the one nation that has to start things, that has to start a design for peace and lead, is our own nation.
Well, we have the power, and we also have the responsibility. You know, Oscar, we were talking the other day to Bill Lawrence of the New York Times, and he was drawing us a picture of the fantastic possibilities of the peacetime uses of atomic energy, of the curing of diseases that for long have been regarded as incurable. The matter of curing disease in plants, for example, which would create a revolution because it would mean that there would be no more hungry people in the world. And it seems to me that basically this is a problem in education. And if that sounds trite and a platitude, then it must sound that way. I remember scrambling around in my third office in London during the Blitz and finding a charred piece of paper, part of a pamphlet written by an old professor of mine. And the last sentence said, the most urgent task confronting the world today is education. And at that time, with that hot iron flying about, it seemed to me a ridiculous statement. But the more I've thought about it, the more it seems to me that he had it right on the head.
And the stakes are high. We need more than just a bachelor's degree. Well, this is existence we want.
Merely survival. Well, Oscar, we've both glanced at the last 50 years here. What do you make of it in summary?
Well, as nations go, we've, in the last 50 years, lived a life and not an apology. But we have come into our full inheritance at a tender age. We didn't seek, and many of us did not want the responsibility and leadership that's been thrust upon us. But as you say, ours is the power, and ours is the responsibility. We're regarded abroad with a mixture of fear and admiration. Unless we are prepared to go on indefinitely piling up armaments in preparation for ultimate collision, we are obligated to state the conditions, if any, upon which we are prepared to live in the same world with the Russians.
Well, Oscar, aren't we also obliged to remember that we're an impatient, improvident people demanding always quick and easy solutions? And we find ourselves now in a situation where there are no easy or quick solutions. In a position where we must have recourse to patience, tolerance with our allies, and the knowledge that we're unlikely to solve our problems with either dollars or with bombs. And to remember, I would suggest, too, that our example may very often be more important and more decisive than our exchequer. Nations have lost their freedom while preparing to defend it. And if we in this country confuse dissent with disloyalty, if we deny the right to be wrong, the right to advocate minority, unpopular, unorthodox views, then all of the hundreds of millions of people in the world who are shopping about for a new allegiance, for a symbol, for a system to tie to, will be disappointed, and we ourselves can destroy ourselves from within. Because unless we can maintain the confidence of those people who aspire only to the symbols that we have created, then we will be destroying a great deal of what our ancestors fought for.
You've glimpsed some of the fun, the folly, and glory of this nation during the last 50 years. Right now, we are fat while the rest of the world is either lean or hungry. The problems that power imposes press in upon us. We cannot escape them if we would, and who among us would desire to do so? Ours is the opportunity of decision.
Oscar, it seems to me that we are essentially one of the great pivots upon which history is going to turn. And the manner in which we make up our collective mind may well determine whether the independence and the dignity of the individual purchased at such great cost by our ancestors will literally survive on this minor planet, whether we will as individuals, too. No one who has looked at the last 50 years would suggest that the years ahead will be easy or placid. No one can give us a guarantee of success or indeed of survival. But it seems to me, Oscar, that we might remember something that I think James Barrie once said in times that were perhaps not as troublous as these, but almost. He suggested that we should greet the unknown with a cheer. And I think we have found at least one American businessman who is disposed to agree with Mr. Barrie.
How are you, Mr. Hammerstein? Mr. Murrow?
Good evening.
I'm no prophet, but... But to me, a few things stand out clearly. We're the strongest nation in the world, but we still haven't found the best way to use all our strength. We're the richest nation in the world, but we still haven't enough good homes, good schools, and good hospitals. We have the greatest technical know-how, but we've been slow to teach other free nations how to use it. In the next 50 years, I believe, we will continue to improve and to grow. I believe we will put atomic energy to work for humanity, so that within a few years, our life today will seem primitive. And I believe that within the community of nations, we will accept the responsibility the world expects of us. With God's help, we'll succeed. Thank you, and good night.
And now, our producer, Mr. Leland Hayward.
As you all recognize, that was Mr. Henry Ford, whose company made it possible for us to bring you this program tonight. For the last few seconds of the program, we'd like to have Miss Marian Anderson sing another song for you, a very great American song. Thank you.
have seen the glory of the color.